based on an experience I had while backpacking in Bali. Enjoy. The bridge. There are horrors beyond life's edge that we do not suspect, and once in a while man's prying calls them just within our range. H.P. Lovecraft. Many cultures believe that fortune is in the eye of the beholder. It can take the form of many things: power, money, fame, even love. But if my travels have taught me anything, it's that life is all about balance. Where there is fortune, misfortune lurks. And no, that's not some new age mantra I picked up at a yoga retreat, it's the law of the jungle. I sized up the Balinese rental owner and gave it to him sternly. 100k per day, take it or leave it. No mister, 200k, good quality bike. He gestured at his collection of Honda scooters looking worse for wear. 150k, I countered. Final offer. He shot up a deceptive smile and shook my hand. As he sifted through dusty paperwork, I knew I fell into yet another upselling scheme. But this rickety motorbike rental was the only one for miles, so I gritted my teeth and slid him the money. In the distance, rain clouds were rolling in above a muggy Balinese morning. I found myself in a rural area with rows of rice fields spread out in all directions. This was the Bali I wanted to see. The owner guided my scooter along a dirt path and handed me the keys. "Om Swastiastu," I said in my awkward American accent, and then bowed even more awkwardly. The man stood stiffly and curled his lips. Judging by his reaction, bowing wasn't customary in his culture. I flashed him a "sorry I'm a dumb tourist" grin and hopped on the bike. I fastened my rucksack and went off into the tropical landscape. With the breeze on my back and boundless adventures ahead, I spent the next hour zooming up and down the countryside. But as I was making my way to a temple in a remote part of the island, the scooter began to sputter. Then it gave 3 jerks forward, and died. Shit. I spilled on the side of the road. I assessed the damage and grimaced. The bike refused to start. Of course. I got ripped off and he gave me a lemon. Why did I expect anything different? I kicked a dirt mound far into the field and stood there weighing all my options. The road was empty with no signs of anyone around. Then, as I blocked off the sun and squinted, a lonely village revealed itself just beyond the rice paddies. Thank Christ. I trudged in that direction, dragging my scuffed motorbike on one end. The area itself was beautiful. There were green, rolling hills and sounds of a nearby creek, and fluttering of sparrows could be heard. There was also penjor everywhere, tall, decorative poles that signified the welfare of the Balinese people. But then, my eyes moved to a sight that wasn't as nice. It was an old bridge just outside the village. Cracks lined the worn, gray stonework, and unkempt vines twisted around its columns. It was an ugly piece of architecture. And curiously, the only place without a penjor. Beep beep. A villager on his scooter honked before crossing the bridge. Moments later, another motorist approached, and before passing, he too beeped his horn. I stayed for a bit and noticed that whenever someone crossed the old bridge, they would use their horn even if there was no one around. All of a sudden, on the other side of the bridge, a far-off figure was walking clearer into view. It was a woman in a red dress, long and flowy, with her side ponytail cascading just beneath her shoulder. She seemed distressed, like she was searching for something. Beep beep. Another motorist drove by and broke my gaze. When I looked back, the woman was gone just as fast as she appeared. Thunder cracked in the distance and heavy rain began to pour. I hurried into the hamlet and came inside the first warung I saw. A warung, or an Indonesian eatery, serves delicious food day in and day out. The one I was in was no exception. The smells wafting out the kitchen made my mouth water. So I ordered, charged my phone and waited out the storm. The warung owner and her teenage daughter smiled at me as I ate. You could tell they didn't get many visitors in their village and were curious about my being there. "Mister, you from where?" the mom asked. "I'm from USA." I smiled back. "Saya, Dari America." The daughter tried not to laugh at my pronunciation. "Where are you heading?" she joined, with much better English than I expected. "Ramayana Temple, have you heard of it?" I grabbed my phone and showed her the location. I was on my way there, but my bike broke down. Bolts of lightning flashed across the dull skies. "Ah yes. Ramayana Temple, 3 kilometers from here." "But..." she placed a finger on the map. "From here is faster. Only 2 kilometers. I looked at the shortcut she proposed. There was a narrow road that cut behind the village, and the entrance was through the old bridge. Jangan lewat situ," the mom said to her daughter with traces of fear in her voice. They exchanged a few more words that I didn't understand. "Before you go to bridge, you have to use dash," she tried to find the right word. "Your horn." "Ah, yes. You have to use horn 2 times before you go on bridge. Very important. 2 times. The same fear in her mother's voice was in her quivering eyes, and I realized she was serious. I saw some people doing that when I first got here. "Why do you have to use your horn like that?" At this point, the mom seemed visibly spooked and wanted no part of this. After more claps of thunder, the daughter added, "There is woman outside our village. She lives under bridge. But she is not really woman. She is dash." Her mom interrupted us by giving me the bill. She tried to fashion a warm smile, but her lips couldn't stop shaking. Something really got under her skin. Not thinking much of it, I finished my meal and called the bike rental. After the rain let up, they sent over a mechanic and got the rust bucket running again. Thanks again for the food. I waved goodbye to my friendly hosts and rode off. The rain had been reduced to a light drizzle and fog began creeping down from the hills. It was eerily quiet on my way out. I whipped the scooter around a bend, and there it was again. The old bridge, but much closer this time. I stopped to inspect the menacing structure. The fog covered much of the vines now, casting the appearance of gangly creatures writhing around in the mist. But it was all in my head, of course. I didn't care much for third world superstitions and had no intention of using my horn. So I laughed and drove forward. After riding around for a while, I realized 2 hours have gone by and no signs of the temple anywhere. No signs of anything, really. Only dense jungle on each side and fog that seemed to have no end. How could I have gotten lost? The road only lead in one direction and I was following it to a T. I kept riding, and finally, a fuzzy shape in the distance poked out of the fog. There it was again. The old bridge. It was bigger, more daunting than before. I hopped off in search of the village, but there's no trace it was ever there. Only me, the fog, and the bridge. Suddenly, there was a woman. She sat on the ledge, weeping gently and looking down at the water. Her red dress was soaked and her hair was left in a disheveled mess. "Are you okay, miss?" I called out, walking closer and closer. The air was impossibly still. My heart pounded and I was covered head to toe in cold sweats. Finally, I went to tap her shoulder, but before my hand could even reach her, she snapped at my wrist and pulled me within inches of her face. I don't remember much after that. Kids from the village found me in pretty bad shape after I left the warung. Apparently, I ditched my bike on the side of the road and sat on the old bridge, staring down at the water. When they found me, I was muttering the words "Mana anak saya" like a madman. The kids took me to the warung owner and her daughter. Like the angels that they were, they cleaned me up and offered some food. After a bit of convincing, they told me the full story about the woman in the red dress. Decades ago, on that very bridge, a little boy was killed by a careless motorist. His mother was so grief-stricken that she hurled herself off the bridge to be with her son. Nowadays, people passing through will always honk twice, even if no one is there, as a sign of respect to their spirits. Mana anak saya means "where is my son?" To this day, I couldn't tell you what her face looked like. The events that happened are a big blur. But every now and then, just when I think I'm safe and warm in my bed, I'll see pale, putrid eyes looking down at me, with so much sadness, and they never look away.